and welcome to Murder Dictionary Podcast. My name is Brianna, and that is Kelly.
Hey.
Before we get started, we wanted to remind you to follow our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you haven't followed us already, we have some dank memes, some serial killer info. I've been putting a lot of art up lately because I've been finding some really sick shit.
Nice.
Finding the right pros for home projects can be tough and spark a lot of questions like, how do I find a pro who can help? Will they do a good job? Will I get a fair price? That's where Home Advisor can help. From leaky faucets to major remodels, Home Advisor connects you to the right pro for the job in seconds and even helps you get a fair price. Read reviews, check project cost guides, and book appointments. Go to homeadvisor.com or download the free Home Advisor app to start your next project.
And if you haven't left a iTunes review, we would appreciate if you would review us on iTunes. We read each review that's 5 stars and say thank you at the end. So if you left a 5-star review, definitely check out the end of the episode so we can thank you. We have a few more Patreon supporters for this week that we wanted to say thank you to. This week on Patreon, we got pledges from Leah, Shanti, Stacy, Sarah, and Jeremy.
Say what?
Thank you so much, you guys. We really, really appreciate your support, and we will be sending you out some merch soon.
Condoms.
Check out the description and show notes if you want some resources for CPS, anti-bullying, suicide prevention, any mental health helplines, domestic violence, anything like that. We have links there, as well as some timestamps for some of the particularly gruesome parts of the episode. So if you want to skip over some of the violence or anything like that, we will let you know what the times that you don't want to listen in the description. Cool?
Is there like a timestamp for just me talking? As Kelly starts here.
Just turn it up. Kelly's going to talk.
No, turn it down. Turn the cigarettes down.
Adjust the volume. Why did you do the cigarette in your throat? Are you going to get one of those tracheotomies?
That's just, imagine if you sound like that. You probably already have the, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then one last thing before, or actually a couple more things.
Ooh, I love things and stuff.
I wanted to let you guys know that we put a couple episodes for bonus on Patreon. So we've got one quiz game and one about news stories, and those went up just a couple days ago. So we didn't have an episode last week, but you could catch us on the bonus episodes on Patreon, as well as we had a couple guest spots on this podcast called But Why Though? We've already talked about them before. We love their show.
Yeah.
And we were really, really excited that we got to be guests on their True Crime and Shark Week episode.
They were so cool.
So if you missed us last week, we apologize, but we have some bonuses and guest spots that maybe you could listen to if you missed us.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely check them out. They're really good people.
Yeah, we love them. They're amazing. So check out that show. Faux show.
Sorry, I love that. I was good.
I also wanted to apologize that we weren't around last week. We kind of were absent on social media and we didn't have an episode. I don't want to be one of those shows that kind of does this long, like half-hour check-in every episode. I don't want to take away from the story or kind of be disrespectful to the victims. But I do feel like we need to explain why we weren't here last week. So you don't get too worried that we're going to leave or fade away or anything, because that's definitely not what's going on. I don't want to make people think that we're flaky or we're not, I don't know, I'm just getting my nails done or something.
Yeah. I'm pregnant.
Right? So I just don't want you guys to get concerned. But what happened was my girlfriend was in the hospital. I wanted to explain to you guys that we definitely don't intend to make that a regular thing, but we just had an emergency. My girlfriend's got some health issues. It's been going on for a few months, and I've been trying to really keep up with the schedule of researching and writing and recording and editing and everything, but it takes up a lot of time. And so, you know, when something's going on in my life that is also very stressful and painful and time consuming, I just wasn't able to keep up last week. But I don't intend to make that a regular thing. So I wanted to say sorry and let you guys know that that's definitely not our intention or something that's going to be a regular occurrence. But if we do miss a week, just know that we have a really good excuse.
Yeah.
We're not being flaky, I promise.
Yeah, and that's totally understandable. And I think it'd be weird if you just decided to do the podcast instead of taking care of that stuff. You'd be like, actually.
Just trust me, you didn't want me to do a podcast last week and just cry the whole time. I mean, I think you can still hear in my nose that I'm like been crying a lot. Yeah. So imagine how bad it would have been last week, you know?
Yeah, no, totally.
That's all I'm saying.
It would have just been me sitting there.
Just super awkward trying to comfot me like, no, man, she's going to live. It would have been bad podcasting.
Do you want to talk about murder or other sad things to get your mind off of it?
Right. So I definitely apologize that last week was kind of messed up and we didn't do a show, but we tried to make it up by doing a couple Patreon shows. And I also have a couple more Patreon things in the works. So we're definitely not trying to be flaky and we're definitely trying to make it up to you. Cool?
Cool.
And that's enough about me. I don't want to be one of those shows. I don't want to do this for half an hour, but I do want to make sure you guys know that I will apologize and explain myself, you know?
Yeah. And we're not going nowhere.
We ain't going nowhere. You are stuck with us. Yeah. You better get used to it.
I'm going to leave a toothbrush at your house.
Right? I'm going to take the top drawer, put all my panties in there.
I'll put my weed.
Why do all my panties smell like weed, Belle? Shh. That's just my natural essence. Anyway, with all that said, I think we're ready to get started.
Let's do it.
I have a story for you.
It's funny how crazy sad stories like this make us feel better.
I don't know about that.
Not better, but you know what I mean? Like,
but at least it's something where I don't focus on what's going on in my real life.
Yeah, exactly. It's an escape. Never mind. I'm not going to say it makes us feel better. That's terrible.
It sounds a little fucked up. I get what you're saying, but it does.
You feel you feel the intentions?
Yes.
Deep inside you? Because my intentions are good.
It is good.
You know what I mean.
So tonight's story is going to be about the King family.
Ooh, what letter
and we're
are we on?
Still on P.
Oh, P,
this
sorry.
Is part 3 of Patricide.
Patricide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was melodic like today, Junior. So the King family is from our favorite state, Florida.
Puerto Rico.
The F-Rider. Oh, poor Puerto Rico.
That's a territory. You ain't even a state.
So this is about the King family, Terry King, and his sons, Alex and Derrick. So Terry King met Janet French, his wife, in 1985. She was an exotic dancer.
At the peak of like cocaine Miami.
Right? Amazing time for taking your clothes off to music.
Oh my God.
I can only imagine. I just feel like everything is just a Motley Crue video or something. If you're a dancer back then, that's all it was.
If we could do Bill and Ted, like fuck going back to meet like Abraham Lincoln, let's just go back to that.
I know. They were in such an amazing time. They didn't appreciate it, man. Don't get in the phone booth. Just go to a strip club. Yeah. So she was a dancer and he worked at a print shop.
A print shop? P-rent shop?
A P-rinse. No, like print as in paper and posters and stuff like that. So, cool. You know, like a merch. Nice. A merch shop.
A merch shop.
They had 2 sons together, Alex and Derrick. Derrick was bright and active. He was the sporty type of kid. He had a rebellious side. He was very outgoing and he made friends easily, but he kind of tended to get in trouble. You know the type.
Yeah.
Your type.
So I wasn't an athlete, really.
You weren't? You didn't play sports?
I swam. That doesn't count.
Yeah, you swam.
That's not a sport.
That is a sport.
Only
Swimming's
for
hard.
Michael Phelps.
That's why you smoke so much weed.
Yeah.
Alex, on the other hand, was introverted. He was quiet. He was very studious. And he preferred to be by himself. And he was a bit shy. He was bright. He liked to read. He was a really good student. And he excelled in school to a point. However, because his family was really unstable, he wasn't able to do very great in school. It kind of stunted his growth, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Like, because they weren't supportive, or it was just like an unstable thing where he couldn't do like a...
So they were moving around a lot. His mom was an addict and alcoholic. She couldn't keep a steady job, as well as their dad couldn't work steadily. So they always had financial problems. They were always being evicted. Their utilities were being turned off, all that stuff. And then they were changing schools a lot. So then trying to get used to a new social group. So it kind of didn't make for good breeding grounds for being studious or learning, you know?
You think that there's always money in a strip club. Like,
there's always money in the banana stand.
Exactly. Exactly.
You would think so, but I mean, I think what I understand of it was that she was always getting high and drunk and she couldn't work, and that was the problem.
That makes sense.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that if you're willing and able to work, there's always money in taking your clothes off and dancing, but if you're not able to do that, you know.
You can only snort like 25% of your earnings. You can't any more than that.
There's a cap on it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just, you know, bleeding from every orifice. It's just not sexy. Too soon?
No. Like trying to imagine what a bleeding stripper would look like, and I'm...
Oh, you haven't seen one?
No, never, but intrigued.
Yeah, I mean...
You've seen a bleeding stripper?
I've seen a stripper fall. Yeah, but not like a coked out...
Okay, yeah.
Not a coke accident.
A cokecident.
Cokecident, exactly.
Aw, you gotta feel bad when they fall. They like get back up, girl.
Oh yeah, it's totally. Or you see their little baby deer ankles twist, but they don't fall. But they've got that like
Wobble.
new baby deer kind of
Wobbly
thing.
wobbly wobble.
Exactly. Wobble wobble. Yeah, I've seen that a lot. Okay, so they had a lot of money problems. They did move around a lot. And eventually, after 8 years together, Terry and his wife broke up. The problem was not just the instability, but she became pregnant by another man.
Oh, that's why they broke up?
Yup. And she had twins.
How did he find out? Was she honest? Don't ever do that.
Come on, girl.
Like, how's he going to know if they're not born? I mean,
Right? They're yours, baby. They've got your hat. They have your money problems. They're yours.
They cry just like you.
Oh, no. They spit up just like you.
They shit their pants just like
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how she knew.
Yeah.
So I actually don't know. Yeah, I don't really know how they knew that the twins weren't his, especially since they had a couple kids together. And then I don't know what the telling point was. Maybe they did one of those in utero
Paternity
DNA
test?
paternity tests. They went on Maury or something.
It's like a really like new age Maury.
Right. But either way, they found out and they split up.
He kicked her to the curb?
Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Basically, they started to have major problems before she gave birth, knowing that the twins weren't his, and I don't know how. And then once the twins were born, she completely separated from the family. She left the twins, the boys, and the husband, and just went away.
It's weird. Maybe some type of postpartum.
Something. I don't know. Yeah, it's very strange because normally a mom doesn't just abandon newborns.
Yeah.
But she gave them up to a foster family in 1995. Eventually, they all signed the documents and all that.
Well, at least she didn't leave him at a fire station.
Well, there's that. Terry tried to make it as a single father. He had a really rough time, obviously, with two incomes. They were really struggling, moving around a lot, not paying bills. But then on his own, he was really, truly struggling. He was known as kind of a strict father. He was very kind and loving and devoted to being a good dad, but he just had a lot of challenges, especially when it came to employment and money.
Your dads are not really like the cool one, you know?
Oh, yeah.
They're always in
They're
my
the
life.
disciplinarian.
Yeah, there we go.
They're not the kind and
Nurturing.
That's the word I was looking for. I was going to say maternal, but then I was like, no, that's a mom word. What are you, an idiot? So he was kind of doing his best. He was very sweet to the kids, but he just didn't have a lot of resources to take care of them and provide for them as much as he should, you know?
Should have started stripping.
I mean, come on. I'm sure he's got some man boobs, right? Put some little pasties on there.
Yeah.
Some fidget spinner pasties and just twerk it around and get those tassel going.
Just whipped cream down your little happy trail.
Ew.
Follow the yellow brick road to my dick.
So the boys recall that their father was often really quiet and tired. That's what they both said about him looking back, was that he was always working, and if he wasn't working, he was kind of just out of it, just existing, trying to get by from day to day.
So he's us.
I know, it's really sad. I was like, I'm Terry. So he was really doing his best, but it was just really hard for him to stay afloat and keep his head above water. So when he wasn't working, he didn't really do a lot of quality time stuff with the boys either. They said that he just slept a lot because he was working a lot.
Yeah.
And he was stressed out, and that makes you tired.
God, they need to be more understanding. If you don't pay the bills.
That 4-year-old really needs to be more chill.
Yeah. Either get a job or stop complaining.
They also said that he was kind of reclusive and wasn't very social. And in turn, he insisted that the boys not be very social at all. So he didn't really let them have play dates. They didn't have a lot of friends. He just insisted that they stay home with him.
What?
Yeah.
Because you could just send your kids out and sleep all day carefree. Right?
That's like a major parenting tip.
Yeah. I don't want to worry about my kids when I'm sleeping in the other room if they're like getting into stuff or wreaking havoc. They could be somebody else's
problem. No,
yeah, I was looking for a better word than problem, but yeah, you're
I mean, I think that there is a way to kind of network with other parents and be like, hey, I'll take the kids on these days, you take the kids on those days.
Yeah.
Like, there's things that he could have done, but I don't know. I don't really know what the problem was. He just had trouble with it, you know?
Has he heard of a babysitter, maybe?
I mean, maybe he hasn't.
Oh, money.
We need to call him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. But even then, like I said, he could have networked with parents and kind of traded. It's the barter system for kids.
You take my 2 kids, I'll take your 2 kids eventually.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they said he was really tired. He slept a lot and didn't let them hang out with people. But on top of that, sometimes he would even take them to work with him. So instead of letting them stay with other people or play with their friends, he would take them to work and they would sleep on the floor.
No.
Of a little print house. Like, yeah.
At least teach them how to print.
Right? Put them to work. You can press a button.
Yeah, that's entertaining.
So Derrick said, we couldn't hang out with any friends. I hated it. So they started to resent him because they were always alone and didn't have anybody else.
My dad used to take me to work with him. It was great because all of his coworkers would give me food and stuff. And then he put me to work filing.
Right?
I was filing when I was like 11 years old, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
You know the alphabet? You can put these papers here.
Exactly. It's so easy, and it kept me busy for hours.
My dad used to do this thing because he worked in construction where he would take me to job sites. Instead of going to summer camp, I would go to job sites. And his biggest thing, especially when I was little, is he would tell me to go pick up nails.
I think you've told me this.
Because he would say that, oh, it's such a big deal. They're going to pop the tires.
So
like, you're saving everybody all the hassle of getting their tires replaced. He made it seem like it was the most important job on the entire job site.
Yeah. How many tetanus shots did you get?
I know, right? I was a dainty kid, so I was like, you know.
Oh, yeah, you were being all cute. Like girls with acrylics, you know, picking up nails.
Picking up with my little pinky up. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that you make it work as a parent. No parent has it easy. You just try and find solutions and incorporate your kid into your life, you know?
Yeah, don't make them sleep on the floor, though. Put that ass to work.
I know. I have sympathy because I know he was doing his best and trying to make money while still taking care of the kids.
Yeah.
But he probably could have socialized them a little bit better, you know? He had a lot of trouble being a single parent, especially with the lack of income. He was getting evicted a lot more frequently, even though that's something they had a problem with as a couple. It was more frequent. They're moving around more often. The house was really dirty, they recall, and also the utilities were almost never on.
No.
Yeah. So when the boys were around 6, Terry had to give them up to foster families.
Fuck.
So Derrick was sent to live in foster care with one family, and Alex went to another family.
Not together? That sucks.
I know. Derrick was placed with Frank Lay and his family, and Frank was the local principal of a high school. And he had other kids. They had a stable household. So they just incorporated him into their house.
Yeah, if he could take care of like a whole school of kids, I'm sure he could manage.
That's the thing, is he had experience with troubled kids too, because of course Derrick was the rebellious one. He was the one that was kind of having some behavioral issues and exhibiting some emotional challenges. And he had a little bit of experience, Frank did, with dealing with that, you know? So he's perfect for this kid that really needed a stability and a loving home.
Perfect match.
Yeah, but Alex was sent to a different foster family. And not that there was necessarily an awful experience, but you know how foster families, sometimes they move around a lot. Well, Alex was kind of caught in that system where he went to a few different homes.
They returned
for short periods of time. And as far as I could tell, Alex didn't have a lot of the behavioral issues that Derrick did. But for some reason, it just wasn't working out. People were basically renting kids and returning them, you know?
It sucks.
Yeah, it's awful.
Maybe he was a habitual farter. I'm just trying to think.
Like crop dusting the entire house, and they're like, "You gotta go,
This
man.
is not. We
I
asked
can't
you to
even
go
turn on
outside."
the stove."
Fire hazard.
So Alex kind of moved around a little bit, and their mom says that she never visited the kids. I don't know if Terry did, but their mom was open about the fact that she never went to visit them. But she says that it was because she was advised by the social workers that visiting them would be disruptive to their kind of flow, their little schedule that they have going on, and it may cause a little bit more emotional turmoil than necessary.
That's such a double-edged sword.
I know, because, I mean, it's important for them to see their parent, but that advice is kind of right. If you're getting used to this family and kind of integrating into their little schedule and their little home, and then something from your past comes up as a child, that's hard to process.
Yeah, and they gave up the right as a parent, so it's like you kind of aren't entitled to that anymore, whereas someone else is trying to fulfill that role, so you're not really giving them a fair chance. But at the same time, kids that grow up knowing that they're in a foster thing and that their parents didn't want them or love them have like some type of missing void, right?
Yes,
or some type of
an absolute need to have that parental figure there.
Yeah.
You know, it's no matter what happens, that person's still your parent.
Yeah. And there's a lot, I mean, you see it so many times where people get older and that still sticks with them and they go on missions, life missions to find their parent. Even if they're disappointed, it's
no
still...
matter how bad the relationship was, they need that in their life.
So the story gets better, for sure.
It goes nowhere but up from here. So she never visited them. I don't know if Terry did. I didn't find any info on that, but she was open about the fact that she didn't. So she just basically disappeared for many years. They didn't hear from her. They didn't see her. Terry didn't know where she was, the whole thing. After Alex got kicked out of a couple homes, he actually returned to Terry's house and was able to live with his dad again. However, Derrick continued to stay with the foster family.
Well, yeah, man, utilities.
Yeah, lights. We like lights around here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that, again, that's a double-edged sword, too, because you're in this new stable house, but it's not your home. It's not your parent. It's, you know that your biological parent is still out there.
Yeah.
And your biological parent still has your brother.
Yeah.
I have no idea what a terrible mindfuck that would be to have your siblings still live with your parent and you're not allowed at the house.
Yeah, because even if you didn't really want to see your dad, you probably want to see your brother.
Right. If you have resentment there at your parent, you still have that longing to be with your family. Mm-hmm. There definitely, some of his rebellious traits kind of started to perk up a little bit after that because he seemed a little bit hurt by Alex being able to return to the house.
Wait, that happened to me. I'm like, wait, yeah, that would suck. But that happened to me. I wasn't allowed to call my mom and I couldn't talk to my sister. And I was away from my sister for 8 years. Yeah,
but you didn't kill anyone. I'm proud of you, bro. Yet? Wait, what's that face? Uh-oh.
Continue?
Do you have something to tell me?
We good for now.
Yeah, that's just such a terrible thing to put a kid through.
Yeah.
That they can't go home, but their sibling can.
Yeah.
You know? I guess I should kind of back up a little bit. So initially, when Derrick kind of came into the Lay household, his behavioral issues got better. They didn't start to decline again until Alex went home and years had passed. But you could see that immediately when he came into this family, he started to do better in school. He was enrolled in classes for gifted children, and he improved in just his studies and his social activities and wasn't getting into trouble at all. So there was kind of this stark difference between coming into a normal household and then finding out that his brother went home. Once that happened, all the things that he was rebellious about, his behavioral problems, his getting into trouble, all resurfaced again. Mm-hmm. So Frank and Nancy, his foster parents, started to have a lot of problems with him. They could not discipline him. He wasn't taking direction. He wasn't following the house rules or anything. He was skipping class. He was getting bad grades. When he had just been in gifted classes, he started to just decline, not doing his work, bad report cards, the whole thing.
That sucks.
I know. There was just, I don't know. I think for kids, they're so sensitive. There's just this distinct difference of like when they're comfortable and doing well and supported, and then all of a sudden something emotional happens that triggers this deep pain of abandonment and all that stuff, then he wasn't able to do well anymore.
Yeah, nothing else really matters.
Yeah.
I mean, school doesn't matter. Why would you?
Right.
Yeah.
They were trying to discipline him. They were trying to set boundaries. He kept getting into trouble. He started doing drugs, and they were very concerned about him. What was particularly concerning for the Lay family was that he was sniffing lighter fluid and setting things on fire.
Wait, like blowing it out of his mouth and setting things on fire? Like,
I don't exactly know.
That would be
some
kind
skills.
of, that would, I mean, that changes
Maybe
the
he's
whole
just a
game.
little Gene Simmons, you know?
Maybe
he just wants to join the carnival and run away with the circus.
Yeah, I mean, ambition. But that's like the worst drug you could do is like butane.
Just killing your brain cells.
Yeah,
like, left
at
and
least
right.
do dust off, something fun. Oh my God.
The inhalant expert over here.
I'm just saying. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this was kind of a jump that was particularly concerning. It's one thing to not listen. It's one thing to not pay attention or just follow rules. It's another thing to kind of exhibit these violent tendencies and some drug addict behavior. So they became really worried, especially because they also had other kids in the house. So they were actually worried that he would hurt their kids or cause some sort of fire or accident or whatnot that could be damaging to their family.
Get him addicted to that tane.
Right? That tane.
That tane. Tane.
So because they were really concerned about him being violent and hurting somebody, they returned Derrick to his dad too.
Do you need a receipt?
It's been past 30 days. This kid has clearly not got its tags anymore. It looks like this kid was worn. Okay,
We're
too far. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's a Patricide episode, so we can make fun of him. He's a murderer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I justify it.
And we're uncomfortable with returning children, so we got to make fun of it right now.
Exactly. That makes me so uncomfortable.
I know.
Oh, man. So Derrick was reunited with Terry and Alex, and Alex at that time was about 11, and Derrick was 12. So then they were reunited as a family, but the boys recalled that they didn't really even know each other that well because they had already been separated for about 5 or 6 years by that point. So since they hadn't lived together in many years, they kind of started to get to know each other again, but it was a really tough transition home for Derrick. Derrick was really unhappy about living in this rural area when he had come recently from a bigger city. Family members had said that Alex was actually doing really well. He was doing well in school. He was happy at home. Even if things were a little bit unstable and chaotic, which they always were with Terry, Alex seemed like he was kind of well adjusted about it. But once Derrick returned, and Derrick brought along with him some of his rebellious attitude and his getting into trouble and behavioral problems, Alex started to kind of get depressed and reclusive and wasn't a very happy kid anymore.
Okay.
They still got along, but his demeanor changed and people noticed. The other thing that was kind of a big deal that happened was that Terry took Derrick off of Ritalin. Derrick had ADHD, and I'm not exactly sure how long he had been on Ritalin, but it seemed like it had been for a few years, and it was one of the things that was keeping some of his behavioral issues a little bit more under control when he was doing better. And then Terry all of a sudden took him off of it. And I don't know if it's because maybe he couldn't afford the medication. That's really the only thing that I could think that would justify that. Because it was obvious that he needed it. You know?
Yeah, I thought you get free medication when you're broke. Isn't that
how it
Medi-Cal? Medi-Cal sure does.
Give me Zambars. No.
I get them for free. I really do. I mean, really, if you're broke, California kind of takes care of you.
But I think that maybe he just...
But that's Florida.
Of course, I'm only speculating that was the reason. So that could have just not been the reason. But that was the logical thing that made sense to me. Was maybe he couldn't afford it or couldn't take the time off work to go to the doctor, get a new prescription, the whole deal. Sometimes that is a hindrance for people. True. Or he could be one of those people that just didn't believe in medication. But I didn't really find any info about why that happened. But it was a big factor in Derrick kind of taking a downward spiral. Terry also noticed that Derrick responded pretty negatively to a lot of sounds and music. And so one of the other things that Terry did was he took the stereo and the TV and got rid of them. So they were just in this really quiet house by themselves, hanging out with nothing to do but get into trouble.
Read a book? No, it's boring to kids.
I mean...
That's Harry Potter, but still.
Well, later on, one
broke.
of them will get into
books.
Harry Potter.
Okay, cool. Too broke for books, so I forgot about that.
That might be that. Yeah, I don't know what the story is, but Terry was like, well, it really agitates him.
Yeah.
It makes him really kind of crazy, so we're going to get rid of all these external stimuli and keep it calm in the house. But I think it had an adverse reaction because then he just found other things to do.
Yeah. It's crazy how I think that they've just been they've just been isolated a lot. Like at the job, you're just sleeping on the floor. In the room, you're just no sound. That sucks.
And Derrick had this whole family. He probably came from this really like boisterous house and they were always doing things. There were other kids to play with. I'm sure they involved him in extracurricular activities because of kind of that family structure. Mm-hmm. So then all of a sudden he's just doing nothing all day, you know?
That sucks.
Yeah. After Terry removed the TV and the stereo, his behavior kind of escalated and Derrick started running away.
Well, no shit.
Yeah, he was really angry. He was super resentful, and he just started leaving and not coming home. So since Terry now had these two boys, one with behavioral issues and some rebellion, and he had a lot of trouble looking after his sons, he started to enlist some help from neighbors and babysitters and stuff like that to maybe find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
So Terry had a friend named Rick Javis, who he had known because they were neighbors in a trailer park years earlier. Rick was a mechanic, and sometimes Terry went over to Rick's house and they would work on cars together and they became friends. And even after they moved, they remained friends. So when Derrick came home and Terry clearly needed some help, Rick offered to help out and watch the kids, pick them up from school, whatever he could do. So when Terry would go to work, they would stay with Rick till Terry got off.
It's nice of him.
Yeah.
Good friend. Uh-oh.
Yeah. You know, you would think it would be nice.
Yeah, just an older man picking up two young boys.
Nothing weird about that.
Nope.
Rick lived in a fenced compound filled with video games and computers, and Alex and Derrick really loved to be there. So initially it was a really good fit because they had plenty of activities to do and they had something to do with their time.
What does a fenced compound trailer look like?
I mean, you know, just preppers, basically.
Yeah, like barbed wire fences?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he lived in a trailer, but there was just this larger property that he was on that was kind of fenced in.
Oh.
Just, you know, in case the feds want to come and take your guns.
Yeah.
Real Waco situation. So the brothers said that Rick gave them a lot of attention and treats. They had a lot of freedom at his house. They were really excited to be over there because they could do things like play video games and eat shitty food and smoke cigarettes. And they gave them weed.
Yes.
So they could smoke weed at the house.
Gushers and weed all day
That's
long.
all you need in life.
Seriously.
I mean, really. He gave them a lot more freedom. He allowed them to hang out with friends. They were kind of craving these like fun kid experiences that they couldn't have with their dad.
And even though they're probably doing a little bit more risky stuff, they're probably not acting out as much,
Possibly.
right?
I don't know. He let them skip school, though.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
No, I don't know. I mean, I think they're a little bit young to be doing some of these things, you know?
Like cigarettes.
Cigarettes and weed and I don't know.
What?
Just to have free reign of those things.
Yeah. What did you say the last one was?
The weeds? The pots?
They're 11 years old. They can...
I know. But when you have an adult just providing endless amount of weed.
That's true. That's not responsible.
Just wait.
Oh, you're right.
Derrick said that they looked up to Rick and they kind of felt like he was kind of living the life, and they had a lot of freedom. So that's kind of what they wanted to do and what they wanted to be when they grew up. That was their new role model.
Ha. Sorry.
Oh, yeah?
Because I think compound trailer. I'm like, he's just the king of his little compound.
King in the castle. What Terry and the boys didn't know was that Rick had been convicted of lewd and lascivious assault on two 13-year-old boys in 1984.
Oh, man. You just need a Google machine for Megan's Law.
No.
Boy, being broke sucks.
I know. Yeah. Rick had been sentenced to 6 months in jail, and he had served 5 years probation. In 1986, once he got out of jail, he was found guilty of burglary and petty theft. So his probation was revoked and he was sent back to prison for 3 years.
Ha 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 ha.
What I find weird about that is 6 months for molesting kids and 3 years for theft.
But for violating
I understand
probation.
It's a violation of his parole, but still, I don't know. There's something about that that's just like, come on, 6 months for two 13-year-old boys?
It's definitely the probation parole thing. They go down on you so much harder once you're on like a...
Oh, man.
But yeah, that's totally completely...
It's just fucked up.
Same thing with like assaults on women. You know what I mean? You get a lesser sentence. And when it's considered a non-violent crime, when rape's considered a non-violent crime, that makes no sense.
Yeah. I just was kind of baffled by that. Like, come on, 6 months. That's just insane.
Yeah.
To prey on an innocent child sexually, which is a violent act.
Yeah.
And then you get 6 months.
Oh, I bet the 6 months were rough, though. They don't treat you nice in jail.
We always talk about that.
They
but it's
really
just like,
don't.
Man, well, I don't know.
Good.
Whatever.
Yeah, no. Prison justice. It's my favorite.
So once Rick now had these two boys in his care and Terry didn't know about the molestations, he kind of had free reign to just groom these boys. And so, of course, he was like having them play video games, giving them treats, giving them weed.
Back
and
massages.
The whole time he was really grooming them. Yeah. Derrick recalls that Rick, quote, spent a lot of time kissing Alex while Alex sat on his lap.
Like butterfly kisses? Eskimo kisses.
Bad pedophile kisses.
Bad touch.
Yes, the bad touch.
Oh, no.
Alex would later say that Rick began a sexual relationship with him shortly after his 12th birthday. Alex said that Rick told him that they were both gay.
Rick decided they're both gay?
Apparently, this was some information that he was feeding Alex the whole time. And it'll go on where you see this kind of as a theme. But Rick was definitely trying to put it into Alex's head that this was a very normal thing, that they were two gay men that were in a relationship. It was posed to him like that. It was not a predator kind of thing where, I hate even talking about it, but some pedophiles are just like, you're the victim. I'm putting you in the victim role. Mm-hmm. Well, he put it as, I'm in a relationship with you.
Yeah.
We're equals, you're my boyfriend kind of thing.
He's not a predator then.
That's what he's trying to make himself out to be.
And I really like how we touch on other letters that we have done.
Right? We've got grooming, we've got all sorts of stuff. And killer kids.
Yep.
Spoiler alert. No.
This is like a trifecta.
It's a mashup. Yeah. It's a remix to Patricide.
Pedophiles. Patricide.
So Rick was feeding him this information that they were both gay and they were in a relationship. So Alex wrote in his diary, Rick told me he loved me. Rick told me I was gay and only he understood me. My life used to be cloudy before I made friends with Rick. My ultimate goal in life now is what his is. It is about sharing your life with someone else. Before I met Rick, I was straight, but now I am gay. I thought it would be important to very clearly state that most pedophiles are straight. So even though this is a thing that's coming up, that he's basically feeding this information and grooming Alex to believe that Alex is gay.
Yeah.
This is not the case. Pedophilia is very separate sexuality from heterosexuality or homosexuality.
Yeah, it's a common misconception, right? That pedophiles are all gay.
So I looked into this too, because I wanted to make sure that, I mean, this is just something that's kind of a hot button for me. Like, I really don't appreciate people thinking that anybody who is on the LGBTQ spectrum is a predator. That's not okay for me.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with people believing that. So I went ahead and looked up some statistics because, you know, I'm dorky like that. I found a couple studies and I just thought it would be important to point them out. First study was of 175 Massachusetts child molesters. It was found that 0% were homosexual. Another study of 350 victims, it was found that 1% were assaulted by a gay person. Everything else is heterosexual.
Okay.
So I just thought it was important to point that out, that even though there's this grooming happening, that this pedophile is insisting that this child is in a homosexual relationship with him, that is not the truth. That is not the reality. He is a pedophile, which is a very separate distinction of sexuality.
So this is just a rare occurrence.
I don't necessarily even think that Rick is gay, is what I'm saying.
It's a grooming technique.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Spot on.
I also feel the same way when people say that all stoners are lazy, you know? Like, I'm just going to say there's lazy people.
You're going to try and throw that parallel in here?
175
I
Massachusetts.
feel personally victimized by people that are anti-stoner. I don't
No,
know.
you're
Like,
right.
I know I'm a crazy person, but I'm just like, I know that it's fucking 2017 and most of our listeners, if not all of our listeners, are not
know
going to
what's up.
think that, oh, this is a gay person that's a predator. They know that statistically is wrong. But to me, I'm not comfortable putting it out there and reading those kind of quotes without specifically pointing out that the statistics do not support that.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I totally do.
You feel me?
I
You picking
feel
up what I'm
you.
throwing down?
And your statistics.
I also found some other information, which is super random and dorky, and I wanted to point it out. So there was also another Canadian pedophile study. It was found that pedophiles have an IQ that is on average 10 points lower than the average Canadian.
Really?
Yes. In addition, pedophiles in the study were found to be 2.5 centimeters shorter than the average population. And lastly, they are significantly more likely, although there was no numerical percentage, to be ambidextrous or left-handed. I'm looking at you, lefty. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, I knew I hated short, dumb Canadians, so those are my least favorite of the type of Canadian. Next to the French. The French Canadian. Oh, yeah, lefties are evil, right?
I just thought it was funny. I was like, that is very specific. But there's been a bunch of studies that were very specific about the nature of pedophilia and some of the characteristics and traits. And I thought it was important to point out that they can get as specific as ambidextrous and 2.5 centimeters, but they are also saying that specifically gay men are not predators.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Seriously.
I just think that that's important to point out, that they can find that information, and there's no information to support this misnomer about pedophiles that are linked to LGBTQ community.
That community has, the worst, just like how every gay man doesn't want to fuck every straight man. Like, every straight man's like, I'm not fucking gay, but he better stay away from me. It's like, he doesn't want to fuck you.
Crazy.
You have a beer belly.
Yeah,
and a
like,
fucking,
not interested.
not enough, just too much hair. And
you also are not going to be turning any of lesbians.
Exactly.
So let's just be real about that.
That too. I love that when someone's like, you're a lesbian? Well, you ain't never been with me before. It's like, ugh.
Barf caldron.
Yeah. Oh, I had that the other day. Someone asked me if I could get their number. And they're like, oh, so you're a lesbian?
Ew.
I know. It was so funny. I laughed. Really
Did you
hard.
throat punch him? Please tell me you throat punched
No, I still need to get tipped.
Oh, okay. Got it. That's important.
Yeah.
I want you to pay your rent, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I know that was kind of a big sidebar and departure from the story, but it's, to me, very personally important to distinguish the difference between pedophilia and sexuality and make sure it's clear that people don't think that we're predators.
Yeah. Gay men are not
Just
predators.
With all that said, sorry about the sidebar, we can move on with the story.
Mm-hmm.
By the fall of 2001, instead of just Derrick running away like had previously happened, both boys were starting to disappear and they were running away to Rick's house. It seemed like Rick was kind of encouraging this behavior and encouraging them to come over. And Alex didn't have a problem with running away before this until he met Rick, and Rick was convincing them that they were in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So sometimes Terry would come to Rick's house knowing that the boys came there a lot, and he would ask if they were there, and Rick would hide the boys.
What?
Yes. So he started telling them that, oh, the boys aren't here, or whatever, and Terry would continue to look for them and think they were just run away somewhere else. I can't even imagine not knowing where my kids are, and just, fuck. It's terrifying. So by late 2001, they were spending a significant portion of their time with Rick. Even more time than they were really spending with Terry, it seems like. The boys would say that they were really angry with their father, and Rick started to suggest that they get rid of him. So Rick had told the boys at around the same time that not only should they get rid of their father, but that he had murdered someone and gotten away with it.
Oh, no.
And started kind of planting ideas in their head that if they really wanted to get rid of their dad, that they could do so and not get caught.
Are they gonna try and return their dad like he
did?
With no receipt? Yeah. That's awful. What a jerk.
I know. This guy is terrible.
I wonder if he got away with that murder, if that's true.
I've thought about that too. Like, is this just a line that he's feeding them, another part of the grooming process, and to get them separated from their father? Or is it something that actually happened because he is that awful?
And they were friends, right? So
yeah. So Rick was, of course, particularly persuasive with Alex because Alex believed he was kind of in this relationship.
Yeah, that's bae.
Poor bae.
Ugh.
So he had said that they needed to get rid of Terry so that the two of them could be together, is basically what he convinced Alex of. So after Rick suggested to Alex that they get rid of the father, then Alex went to Derrick and enlisted his help in the planning. So I think that maybe my theory is that Alex didn't necessarily feel like he was the strong one of the brothers, or maybe he couldn't do it alone, or whatever the case may be. But he went to Derrick and was like, I want to get rid of Dad. Let's do this.
How do you feel?
Right? Yes, no, lukewarm, circle, nay. Y, or N. So Derrick said that he was basically down, and he committed to killing Terry. However, he wanted to wait until after Christmas.
For presents? Oh, no.
No, he was actually like, we've never spent a Christmas together.
Oh.
So I want to spend a Christmas together, and then we can kill him.
And then
what's the point?
That's so awful.
You want to kill the person that you want to spend Christmas with? That doesn't make any sense.
It's presents. That's all it is.
It must be.
Oh, he's broke now.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't think he was thinking he could get very many presents.
They just need to be emancipated.
Go the Macaulay Culkin route.
Yeah.
He's looking fly as fuck lately.
That's what I heard.
I know. Did you see those pictures?
I mean,
glow up.
That's what everyone's been talking. It's not that I don't see it, but I kind of like that scraggly weird picture.
Calm the fuck down.
I love.
No, I know that scraggly. I was just like, everyone's making fun of him, and I'm like, well, I mean, heroin chic. It's a good look. It's a classic,
skinny, which is good. You know, I want to be that skinny, so,
right?
Yeah.
Let's do heroin, dude. So he was thinking, let's wait until after Christmas and then kill our dad.
If we do heroin, can we listen to Nights in White Satin on repeat?
Nights in White Satin. Yes.
Okay.
All the time. On repeat.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. So they had Christmas together?
Hold up.
Hold up.
Derrick initially was like, let's wait till after Christmas. But Alex was like, Christmas is too far away. I need this dude gone now.
No.
I know.
What a dick.
I know. So he was pushing him to just get it done as soon as possible. And in early November 2001, Terry decided that 12-year-old Alex and 13-year-old Derrick needed to stay away from Rick, which kind of kicked the plan into overdrive.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to keep them separated from him. When Derrick wasn't initially on board, he was really enraged by this. He really just wanted to spend time playing video games and smoking weed, and he was furious. And so even though he was kind of on the fence before and wanted to wait, he became really angry.
He said, no one's taking away my video games and weed.
Exactly.
Damn, I was like
you got to put your foot down.
Yeah. That's like the catalyst that like really just, if that wouldn't
really
have
set
happened.
him off. I mean, I think that he was very on the edge and had these issues, of course, but that was kind of the last straw for him.
Yeah.
But because this extra layer of being separated from Rick was added onto it, he just kind of lost his shit.
Yeah.
In response to having that boundary set that they couldn't hang out with Rick, what they did was they ran away and they went to Rick's house. And they stayed there starting November 16th. They stayed for about a week. Terry came by again and asked Rick, "Where are my kids?" Rick was like, "They're not here. I don't know where they are. I haven't heard from them." Again, lying. And after about a week at Rick's house, Derrick came home on November 23rd. And then Alex came home the next day on November 24th. On November 25th, 2001, the boys snuck up on Terry while he was sleeping in a recliner in the living room. And Derrick bludgeoned Terry to death with an aluminum baseball bat.
No.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Brescia Meadows thing where, of course, the children, because they're younger, they feel like maybe they're not strong and they attack a parent when they're sleeping. That's the time where they feel the safest to do so or the most confident.
Yeah, you get the first hit in and they're kind of disarmed a little bit.
The only thing that's a really, of course, huge difference in this is that there's really no evidence or no reports that Terry was at all even remotely abusive to the kids.
Yeah, which the person they're running to hide is completely abusive.
Exactly.
Wow. They feel stupid now.
After Terry passed away, the boys also set a fire in the bedroom of the house, which was on the opposite end of the house, basically, in an apparent attempt to, of course, destroy evidence and get away with it. I don't know if that's because Rick instructed them to, or if that's a plan that they came up with on their own, or if it was like a lighter fluid inhalant situation gone wrong.
Yeah, they were just having too much. That's crazy, because wouldn't the coroners be able to tell?
Yes.
That he was
well, you don't know that
skull
when you're
fractures.
12.
Oh, yeah,
you
true.
know?
Sorry.
No, but
they knew how to huff butane.
Well, they're just really mature.
Oh, street smarts.
So after the home was set on fire, the boys hid out in kind of a wooded area by their house, and then they went to a payphone and they called Rick to pick them up.
Not the police.
Right. Derrick said, "Rick drove us to a field and told us to take off our clothes. We rode in the trunk of his car in our underwear with the clothes to Rick's house. We rode in the trunk so nobody could see us. Rick washed our clothes as soon as we got to his house. That was Rick's idea."
Rick is totally right. Oh, man. I was like, smart.
I don't know. I mean,
It's
yes
awful.
and no. I think that forensics, you can trace what was in a trunk. The clothes were still there. He didn't get rid of them and burn them in the forest. He still put a bunch of evidence in his trunk.
I thought they left the clothes in the...
No, they
What's
brought
the
it
point
home
of
to
going-
wash them. Even then, don't wash it. Anyway, I'm not trying to
Wait.
advise criminals.
No, you're right, but what's the point of going to the cornfield then?
I don't know. You got me.
Stupid.
Yeah,
Just for them to get naked there.
pretty much.
That's dumb.
Yeah. The brothers said that when they got to Rick's house, then they just smoked weed and fell asleep on his bed. While they were fleeing the scene, the firefighters arrived at the residence and extinguished the fire and then began looking around the house. And they discovered a completely untouched crime scene because the fire had started in the bedroom and it hadn't reached the living room where Terry was.
No.
Yeah. Terry's body and everything that was around, including, I believe, the murder weapon, was still just there. So there was no damage to the crime scene, and police immediately figured out that Terry was murdered. A search of the King residence also revealed Alex's journal where he had written about his interactions with Rick. So in the diary, there were entries about him and their relationship, as well as like love letters and basic tween romance kind of stuff about Rick. So from the crime scene and the diary and everything, the police really quickly figured out that Alex and Derrick and Rick were involved in the murder. The next day, Alex and Derrick spent the day hiding at Rick's house, or mobile home, more to the point.
Mobile home
in his compound. And Rick told them eventually that they had to turn themselves in, but that they needed to tell the officers that they got in a fight with their dad and their dad was abusive and the whole 9 yards, and that they had killed him in self-defense.
While he was sleeping.
Exactly. In the back of the head.
Yeah.
You know, self-defense.
He just needed to sit down and cool down after he was done beating them.
Right.
So.
So Alex had said that Rick promised the boys that once the whole ordeal was over, that they could come back and live with Rick. As long as they just told the police that they had done it in self-defense, that they would get off, everything would be fine, and they could come back and be together, basically.
Like all three of them? Like a triad? Or
Pretty much, it seemed. But mostly just Alex and Rick. I mean, he was kind of spending most of his energy convincing Alex, it seems. So the next day, Rick took the boys to the police station and they turned themselves in. Immediately after, the boys confessed to everything, basically. They gave detailed confessions of what they did and the events of that night. They told detectives that Alex had come up with the plan and was initially the mastermind behind it, and that Derrick was kind of the muscle and had actually done the specific murder, the attack. Alex's confession read, "Derrick got bat and hit Dad in head. After a while, Dad didn't move. We set bedroom fire. Then we went to store and called Rick. Rick picked us up."
Don't huff butane.
The worst part is that you're not even seeing how it's spelled.
Oh,
There's no
no.
C in Rick. There's no E or L in called. They're just basically missing letters everywhere.
What?
Yeah. And he's old enough to spell. And he's, by all accounts, the smart one.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Don't skip class.
Right? Stay in school, kids. Yeah. In light of these confessions and them telling the whole story, they were charged with murder that night.
Oh.
Several months later, they recanted before a grand jury and put the blame on Rick.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, Rick was also charged with murder.
They thought they were going to get off.
Right.
Well, at least
he was
Rick...
like, no, I take it back. So Rick was charged with murder. He was arrested, the whole thing. So in this version, they alleged that they were in the trunk of Rick's car the entire time that the murder was happening, that they were not there inside the house, that Rick planned out the whole thing, went inside, and they did not take part at all.
That's a good story.
Right? I was in the trunk. I'm going to use the trunk defense.
Yeah. How could I open the trunk? You have to let me out.
Right?
Clearly.
So they flip-flopped back a couple times. They blamed it on Rick. They, had varying degrees of him being involved and then being an accomplice and then being the actual murderer.
Yeah.
And they just kept flip-flopping.
So they're super credible.
Yes.
Okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
But eventually they just kind of came back to the story of them committing the murder.
No trunk?
No trunk.
Just go with the trunk.
I know.
Be the junk in the trunk.
I just think, it's just worth mentioning that they did flip-flop a lot. But the most consistent version of the story was that Derrick was the murderer, Alex was the planner. Ugh. So that was their original story. Then they departed from that, but then they came back to that. So even though the different stories were floating around, that was the most consistent version. So because Rick knew that he was involved in the murder and the planning at the very least, even if he didn't hold the murder weapon, he was desperately trying to communicate with the boys throughout the whole trial leading up to the murder convictions.
To groom them further and be like,
exactly.
hey. But he's the one who even planted that seed in their head.
Yeah, I know. So he began scratching messages in the cement of the rec area outside. One time a guard stopped him in the middle, and the sentence before he was able to finish said, "Alex, don't trust."
What?
And then he didn't finish.
And then under that was, "I heart Alex." Faux life.
Right? Just a lot of hearts and bubbly letters. Mm-hmm. He also wrote a message on the wall of the courthouse waiting room area, and it said that if they stuck to their testimony that they had discussed prior, that everything would work out. He was basically like, hey, if you stick to the story, everything's going to be okay. We'll be together.
Hey, don't mind that they didn't like your story in the beginning. You got locked up anyways, and I am the biggest burn ever by scratching this on the fucking wall.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I'm a smart dude.
A few weeks later, a long note from Rick was found in Alex's trash can. In the note, Rick had said that the cops were playing mind games with him and that he shouldn't trust them, that he should, again, stick to their story. Super burn.
Oh my God, I hate this guy.
Yeah. The note also professed his love for Alex and said that he would wait for him forever. Which is a long time in 12-year-old years.
Yeah, Rick's gonna die way faster. So...
Instead of sticking to Rick's story of self-defense, they actually struck a plea deal. They pled guilty to third-degree murder and arson. In the plea deal, what would happen was that they would be spared the max, which would be 12 to 45 years.
Oh, wow.
So instead of facing that and trying to make this self-defense argument that seemed very thin anyway, they struck a plea. It seemed like that's the better option.
Smarter. Yeah, definitely more smart.
So in the plea deal, Alex was sentenced to 7 years, and Derrick was given 8 years. After the boys' trial was finished, Rick was found not guilty of murdering Terry King, and the jury also believed that he did not set fire to the house, which seemed like that was the most accurate thing, that the boys had said that as well. During Rick's trial, the boys testified about the molestation. However, the jury was not convinced that there was enough evidence to convict Rick of molestation. It was basically just the diary entry and the boys saying that it happened, and there wasn't really any physical evidence.
What about the letter in the trash can that said he'll wait for him?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That wasn't turned into evidence.
That may not have been part of the evidence.
Wow. Is there steam coming out of my ears right now?
Yes, I can see it. I can also feel it burning deep in my heart.
I'm so upset right now.
I know. It's pretty awful. But wait, I'll make it better.
Yeah.
However, he was found guilty of false imprisonment for holding the boys captive, basically, and accessory to murder and evidence tampering. So when it came to sentencing, the good news is the judge was not lenient with him at all. He got 35 years.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So although I wish that he was convicted, especially of the molestation, he didn't take part in the murder, it seems, but he really should be held accountable for assaulting Alex.
Yeah.
However, the sentencing kind of makes it seem like the judge was taking that into account. Like he knew that there was something there, even though they didn't have the evidence to really convict him on that count. Yeah. It still seems like it was taken into account when it comes to the sentencing.
Kind of like how OJ got sentenced a pretty long sentence, or a long whatever. Yeah, a prison sentence for, theft or burglary or whatever it was, when in that state it's not
Sometimes
that.
I think judges just do that. They're like, oh, I see you. You think you got away with something. Yeah. I'm going to show you.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because they could have just done like a raid. Somebody could have just planted some weed on Rick, got him caught, and he probably would have gotten more than 35 years at the time in Florida.
You and your weed crusade.
Well, I mean,
they
Florida,
don't care in Florida. That's like tea.
Are you joking? They hate it. You can get cocaine out there. You can't get weed. Until they just did the medicated one.
Yeah.
So, but 2001, 2000?
I'm just glad that he got such a high sentence,
Thank goodness.
It makes me feel like, oh, okay. A little bit of justice or karma or something.
Yeah.
So Rick was, of course, super pissed off that he got such a heavy sentence and the boys only got 7 and 8 years. His lawyer said, "It's just simply not fair. This is politics, Judge. This is a persecution, not a prosecution."
I'll take it.
Right? Whatever. Either way, he's serving 35 years. Whether he's happy about it or not, shit's happening. So Alex and Derrick's mother didn't visit them too often in prison, but she was with Derrick the day that he was released in 2009 when he was 22 years old. Derrick says that getting out of jail was the happiest moment of his life. He, after getting out, got a job at a restaurant, and he was trying to save money to go to college.
Good for him.
Derrick liked Harry Potter, and his biggest goal was to start a family. Eventually, he kind of found it hard to find work because of his record, He eventually just went to live off the grid in the Southwest. He abandoned the city life, as they say, and went out to the middle of nowhere. He said, "I like time alone, away from everything, away from all buildings, away from people. I like going out hiking. I like seeing a lot of wildlife."
That's a chill life, man.
I mean, really. There's actually, I'll link it in the notes, an article on Vice about the compound that he lives on, where it's just really in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're going to do it the Southwest, that's all native kind of land, right? That would be nice and beautiful sunsets and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a good choice. Alex was valedictorian of his prison high school. He likes math and microbiology.
Ooh.
And he was released in 2008 at the age of 21. Part of his release, though, was that he was put on probation because he actually attempted to escape when he was 15 years old.
No.
And, like a kid trying to escape jail, he basically put a bunch of clothes in his bed and made it look like there was a person.
Yeah.
And him and one other inmate went to the prison classroom and tried to climb out through the ceiling. But the ceiling didn't have roof access, so they just basically got stuck in a classroom. And their escape attempt was discovered. The guards caught him, and they were just in the classroom.
Wow.
So because he got caught doing that, he had a probationary period after getting released. While he was on probation, he got in a car accident, and he fled the scene. So it was a violation of his probation, and he was put back in jail.
He's the smart one.
I know. And he's really sweet and soft-spoken and the whole thing. He just...
It's dumb.
Yeah, I just got caught up,
He's only book smart.
Yeah.
That's crazy, though. He just ran.
Yeah, so since he violated his parole, he was reincarcerated in 2011. And he says that he dreams of getting out of jail and joining his girlfriend in California after he gets released.
How long?
But Derrick hopes that his brother will come live with him, kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
No. Girlfriend in California. They're not good when they're together. They don't make smart choices.
Yeah. Well, I think that part of it is just that they barely know each other, they were never really family.
Yeah.
That time before the murder was the only few months or year that they spent together. Otherwise, they were really too young to remember.
They're just not close enough to kill someone together either. I think you have to be tight.
You gotta be tight?
Yeah.
Like you and I
Like
are?
you and I, yeah. I'll kill someone for you, but...
So yeah, and I don't know, I didn't really hear anything after his release, because I believe he's been released since then, because I don't know how long his sentence was, but he was put back in jail in 2011, and I believe he's gotten out since then, but I just don't know what he's up to. I couldn't find any more information. But I did find that Derrick was like, I hope my brother comes to live with me.
What if he's in the valley? Should we go find him?
You never know.
Yeah.
Let's just search Facebook for Alex King. There's got to be only one.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the story of the King brothers.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was sad.
Yeah.
Fuck Rick.
I hate Rick so much.
We should write hate mail to him.
Yes.
Is that too much? I'm
into it. Yeah.
Let's do it. Everybody that was here that is still incarcerated from our episode, let's just write. We have the penis confetti and the sperm confetti. We should just fill cards with all of that.
Mm-hmm. Can I just mail my poop to a bunch of inmates?
I think the guards open it first, so they might
that's
be
mean. Yeah, I would not do that.
That's
something awful.
Yeah.
I can't think.
A bug?
But something that's not a, biohazard. Awful, but not a biohazard. Yeah, a bug's a good one.
Yeah, bugs. Yeah, we could do that. What else could
Some live black widows.
Yes.
Brown recluse.
Yes.
And be on the front of the envelope, "Dear guards, just give this immediately to the inmate.
No
Thank
need
you.
to search. It's not drugs. Do not open." Oh, no.
Yeah, Rick just was infuriating to me. It's so sad. And again, this is something, of course, I've said before. When I hear that a criminal got released from jail and then continues to hurt people after getting 6 months for his original molestation charge, of course, he's going to go on to victimize other little boys.
Yeah.
It's just, oh my God. So anyway, that's the story of the King brothers.
Cool. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Great story, Bree.
Thanks, dude. All right, you want to hear some 5-star reviews?
No.
All right, okay, bye.
Of course. Favorite part.
The first one is from Cher, who said that it's one of her favorites, that she loves the stories and banter between us, and I enjoy the comic relief.
Tell Cher I love her work, and
and I also believe in love after love.
Thanks, Cher. That's so cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Cher.
Thanks.
And the next one is from another robot, TD956. TD's nuts. Oh, that's bad. Don't laugh at that. And they say that it is very well researched, really detailed storytelling, and hilarious banter.
I think you should read that in a robot voice.
I would, but I'm so nasal right now. I don't even know if I could do it. I almost attempted. You saw my face, right?
Do it.
But I don't think I can do.
Yes, you can.
Funny and murdery. Thanks, Robot TD956.
Thanks.
And the next one is from Orville 101. Maybe they're off the 101 freeway.
And they like popcorn or planes?
Oh, Orville. I didn't even think of that. I love popcorn. They said that there's a lot to critique on true crime podcasts. The majority of it is just personality. These cats have it.
What?
We are cool cats.
Yeah.
Thanks, Orville Redenbacher.
Yeah, thanks, Orville. Oh, I can't even say that word. Orville. My mouth instantly just starts dripping. The
next one is from Learn W, who says that they heard about us from Once Upon a Crime, who we love.
Yeah,
Thank you, Esther.
Love.
And they've been listening ever since. It's made moving house much easier. Please don't cut down on the banter, giggles, and distractions. It's charming and fun. So thank you to Learn.
Thanks, Learn.
I just want to call them Vern. So
Learn
lame,
Vern.
but I do. Thanks, Learn Vern. You're our favorite.
Yeah.
The next one is from Camera Time.
Oh, my God.
Love you.
Stop. Camera time.
Who said they just started listening and they're loving it. The girls are funny but informative. So thank you to our favorite Camera Time.
Should we camera time out? Oh.
You guys can't see it, but we're dancing really hard. There's a lot of this.
Yeah, a lot of shoulder back rows and really fast footsteps.
Exactly. We're all about the fancy footwork here. And that's going to be it for this week. So thank you again to Cher, our robot TD, Orville, Learn, Camera Time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We appreciate your reviews. And once again, we want to say thank you to everybody that supported us on Patreon. Don't forget that we put up a couple bonus episodes, so go check those out if you're a supporter on Patreon. And once again, thank you to Leah, Shanti, Stacy, Sarah, and Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And if you listen to the Patreon episode, I messed up. There is way more to that white boy Rick story, and I just totally had to redo it. So maybe we could talk about that on another one. I'm so excited.
Possibly, yeah. That seemed like a really cool story, or closer to when the movie releases. So stay tuned for future bonus episodes on Patreon about that story we fucked up.
Yeah. My bad. My blunder.
We'll do better next time.
That's why you do the research. And everything.
But it's still, the bonus episodes are awesome. So definitely check those out. We've got 2 new Patreon bonus episodes. So thank you again to the people that are supporting on Patreon.
Yeah, thanks.
The links for our Patreon, as well as our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, are going to be in our show notes, along with some links to articles that I researched this week if you want to check out some further reading material, and some resources for victims like Child Protective Services, domestic violence resources, suicide hotlines, anti-bullying, and a bunch of other stuff.
I want to see a picture of that trailer compound.
I know. We could go visit. There's a bunch of that in California. It's not that far.
Oh, I was like, I don't want to go to Florida ever. Yeah, there's tons of trailers.
Yep.
Did you know we have the most strict laws? Like, it's a really... sorry.
On trailers?
Yes.
Oh, girl.
On trailer... Sorry. Never mind.
Things I don't need to know about. Okay, sorry.
You're like half white, so I'm pretty sure you need to know about trailer parks.
Really? Is that a prerequisite for being white?
Kind of.
Half-breed.
Thanks, Cher.
All right. I think that about does it. Did I forget anything? No, I think the only last thing is go ahead and check out But Why Though? The guest spots that we did for Shark Week and True Crime. Those are great episodes too.
Yeah, so True Crime and Chill.
True Crime and Chill. Bye.
I'm taking my panties off.
Good call on McDonald's for lunch.
Yeah, let's eat.
Okay, we have the oh yeah for me.
Can you hand me my
Yep, and here are a couple of woot-woots to share.
I love my woohoo!
Oh, sounds like Stacy went to McDonald's too.
For a limited time, grab a hot and spicy McChicken and small fries for just $3 at McDonald's. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
What is life? Life is about compromise and realizing you can't always get what you want.
Now you can always get what you want without compromise with the new Quattro Pizza from Little Caesars. With 2 slices each of cheese, pepperoni, sausage and pepperoni, and sausage and bruschetta, it's 4 tasty pizzas in one, all for just $7. Take that compromise. How's it feel to get literally everything you want in one large Quattro Pizza, hot and ready every day from 4 to 8 at Little Caesars?
Pizza, 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 pizza.
Participating locations for a limited time plus tax. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii.